Welcome to Skynyrd Shorts, episode number
31?
not 31.
Oh, it's 32?
It's 32.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
can't believe you forgot the Marshall Tucker band.
Oh, I was so happy to get to 30.
Yeah, I know.
30 was just ringing.
So, please share our series with all your friends. We need more subscribers to reach a couple goals where some cool things can happen. We're really digging on the comments about the Ronnie Van Zant episode, which was still reverberating around the halls of rock and roll. I mean, as does Ronnie Van Zant, because he's just such a great guy. Marshall Tucker, thank you for letting us know. I mean, we're not perfect. We make some mistakes every now and again, but that was a fun episode to do as well. And tonight we haven't chronicled Artimus Pyle.
And pretty important drummer to the band.
I mean,
and historian to the band.
and somewhat controversial.
Very controversial figure. And really not sure how that all started.
Yeah, so let's just talk about it. So Artimus is same age as Ronnie, born in 48. His father was he was a decorated Marine. Is that right?
Is that right?
And
A pilot.
was wounded in World War II. His father got a Purple Heart. His mother seemed like she lived to be almost 90 years old. She was just a homemaker, I think. And Artimus was born in Louisville, Kentucky. Learned to play, or was inspired to play the drums by people like Buddy Rich and Ringo Starr.
Why is there always a Beatle?
But he, yeah, I know. It's the
There's
Beatles.
always a Beatle.
But he joined, was it the Navy? He joined?
Artemis?
Yeah.
He's a Marine.
Artemis joined the Marines. I was very close. Marines are part of the Navy, actually. Did you know that?
I did not know
They are. He got into avionics and worked as a mechanic. I think he wanted to become a pilot.
I think it was his aspiration.
Yeah. And so this is in the late 60s, I think. And he actually was stationed here in Memphis.
Been through Millington.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. He got an honorable discharge. And he rose the rank of sergeant or something kind of cool. Did a good job. But soon after that, his father had a tragedy.
He was involved in a plane accident as well.
Was he the pilot?
I think so.
So Artimus Pyle's father died in a plane crash in 1971.
It's just it's how the world turns, I guess. And that Artemis mentioned that quite a bit about the Skynyrd plane crash too, because being his father killed in a plane crash, it kind of just reverberated right back to the Skynyrd.
And he knows a lot about airplanes.
Yes.
He knows a lot about how they fly and what makes them tick and everything, because he was an aircraft mechanic. But anyway, he is playing for some local bands in Spartanburg, South Carolina, I think, at this time. When I wonder how he met Charlie Daniels.
Well, it was Charlie Daniels who recommended him to Ronnie.
But how did he meet Charlie
I
Daniels?
don't know how that happened. If Artemis, if Charlie had seen Artemis playing with somebody else,
Yeah.
and they didn't need a drummer, and Ronnie knew he was looking for a drummer, he just recommended Artemis because he thought he was a quality drummer.
And as I understand it, they were having problems with Bob Burns. He was either burned out, no pun intended, or was having some, psychological issues, maybe, right?
He burned out. He was having them episodes when they were over in Europe, I think. And, they kept hoping Bob would come back.
Bob wasn't fired.
He wasn't fired.
Did he
never
quit?
got fired from the band. Never quit the
He never
band.
quit.
He was always part of the band. And they hired Artemis to replace him on tour.
Now,
and in the studio, I'm sure.
I read somewhere where Artemis and Bob played together for a minute.
It's very possible.
I don't know if that's true or not.
I think Ronnie, I think the whole band wanted Bob to come back. They were hoping he would recover from his little episodes and whatever they might be, and get back to being who he was.
Yeah. So Artemis is recommended by Charlie Daniels, and the way I heard it, once Charlie told Ronnie that, Ronnie even asked Artemis to audition.
Well, I think Artemis had to audition.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I heard.
I think he had to travel to the Fox Theater, and Ronnie was auditioning 6 drummers, I think, or a few drummers.
Really?
And the story was that Artemis ran out of gas, or his little van broke down. He hoofed all his equipment to the theater to audition with them, and I guess he killed it.
Well, yeah, he was a great drummer. I mean, I don't think anybody can question it.
And there's all kind of stories out there.
Yeah, and so we've heard that he was the only guy that Ronnie kind of let vary, from the routine, jam a little bit, where everybody else had hit certain notes and licks. He would let Artimus wander as long as he kept the beat. He could put all this other little fancy stuff in there, but as long as you keep the beat, Ronnie kind of let him do his thing, is what I understand. And maybe Steve Gaines could improvise a little bit on T for Texas or whatever, but I don't know. So he gets in the band, and the first song that they record is a song with a big drum beat, Saturday Night Special.
Pretty good song to start with.
Wow, what for a drummer to come in and be able to do that. And as you all know, the beat is a huge deal of Saturday Night Special. I mean, I can hear it, and it's just beautiful, right?
It's a big arrangement.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. So he travels with the band and stays in and is solid. Got great pictures on these album covers. I mean, he's in good shape. He's a health nut. Is he a vegetarian at that point?
Well, I don't know if that's true or not.
What?
That he's a vegetarian.
Oh, he was a... I've read many times he was a vegetarian.
Now, I know he did a lot of vegetarian type drugs, mushrooms and LSD.
Is that My Grass is Blue?
Could have not. It was Leon.
But he is a health nut, and he saw a lot of drug use in the band, and I think that bothered him a little bit. But that all brings us down to that fateful day at Greenville Spartanburg Airport.
And that's a lot of circumstance that's up for debate.
What's for debate?
Well, why did the plane run out of gas? All right,
because the tank was empty.
Are they sitting at Spartanburg Airport, taxied there for 20 minutes or 2 hours, waiting on somebody to show up?
I heard that story.
Artemis, maybe? And they had the plane running. Of course, you have to have a plane running if your band's in there. Ronnie's not going to be hot. We're running air conditioning, right? So, did they have it running, idling on the tarmac for a long time, and the fuel gauges weren't that accurate, and somebody just didn't bother to check the fuel levels when they left?
It's clearly pilot error no matter what, right? I mean, they got to know what their gas is. Why didn't they check it with a stick?
I don't know. That's what you're supposed to do. And whether you don't trust fuel gauges, all right, in a car, maybe. In a plane, you don't. I think pilots always stick their tanks, see where they're at, see how much is in the tank, and know how much they need for the flight.
I had a 66 Dodge Charger.
Well, it probably ran out of gas several times.
Oh my God, I ran out of gas so many times. It got 6 miles a gallon, and the gas gauge didn't work.
We're thinking the plane was wired like a Chrysler, not very well.
Remember how the dash lights went out?
I know that. There's a little bitty relay, about this big, like a $2 relay, that could have been fixed.
We never found it. I never found it.
It was behind the dash, up on the firewall. You had to pull the whole dash out to get to it.
We're not talking about Mopar anymore. But, so, for whatever reason, they run out of gas. Pilot error regardless. I mean, I guess the right engine was burning too rich.
Now we know that engine had problems. It was going to require some ignition parts when they stopped in Louisiana. There was mechanics coming to check on it. Magneto's going bad, and they were riching up the mixture because just to make it run better. One carburetor, you're riching it up. Of course, that means you're going to use more fuel. Use more fuel to keep that engine up to par.
Yeah.
They didn't. I guess they maybe hadn't recognized that maybe it was from Florida when it started. I don't know. Somebody wasn't paying attention to the fuel.
Yeah. The pilots.
I mean, how do you check the mileage? What's the mileage, buddy?
Yeah. The pilots who were known to drink during the flight as well.
And they were questionable. There's some more speculation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to bad mouth the pilots, but it's clearly pilot error no matter what happened. I had even heard one time that the engine caught fire and the guy shut off the wrong engine. You know,
and they were supposed to transfer the oil to one side to the other, which you can't do, and they did a fuel dump by mistake. There was so many things talked about, but they ran out of gas. Yeah. Pretty much, you know, they were not prepared for that flight.
And then there comes when Artimus survives, really not too tore up. He tore some rib cartilage, I think. Is the first one to go through the creek and over the fence to Johnny Mote's house. Johnny Mote's a 21-year-old farmer, and he sees some wild hair. I mean, imagine what he looked like.
Artimus walking up on you? What are you thinking?
The hair must have been out there and bloody, and yeah, he shot a warning shot because he thought somebody escaped from the prison. Artimus later said in jest he was shot, but clearly he wasn't. I don't think he ever meant that as a serious, I was shot. But he helped Johnny Mote and other rescuers get down there and probably saved a couple lives, you know, which is very, very cool. Artimus then heals up. He did a radio interview a week after the crash, and he said, well, the band will get back together again, I feel sure of it, but not as Lynyrd Skynyrd, noting basically that without Ronnie, there is no Lynyrd Skynyrd. And that's what we had really hoped and thought ourselves, right? Is that you can't really put Mickey Thomas in Lynyrd Skynyrd and keep going. You know, you can't do something like that. You know, and it turned out with Rosin Collins, it was really in a lot of ways perfect, right? Unfortunately, Artimus, who had been slated to be in Rosin Collins, did you know he was going to be in the band?
Well, I did not know that.
He was in Rosin Collins, but he was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, that's right.
And I think he broke his leg in 21 places.
Yeah, we pretty much put a damper on that.
How can you break your leg in 21 places? That just seems incredible. But that's why he did. And then he wound up getting into some other projects. He was in Alias, I guess. Was he in? He wasn't in Vision, was he? The Christian band?
I don't know.
I don't think he was. I think he was in Alias, and he did a couple other projects. One thing that's interesting is after he didn't get in Rosin Collins, he went to Jerusalem.
3 years.
And studied in a yeshiva, which I guess, and this was a yeshiva for people who weren't necessarily Jewish. And he's very spiritual, very much a guy of the earth, of the land. As I said, vegetarian, pretty sure. So you got a lot of inner stuff going on, right? A lot of that Zen stuff, maybe. But he went on to get on the tribute tour and worked with them. And there's, again, we're getting a lot of stupid stories. He played with them until 1991. He was on the album 1991.
Oh, yeah.
And left the band. Now, I've heard Ed King fired him. I've heard Gary Rosin fired him. I have an interview with Artimus where he said that he just was tired of the drugs. And he said, basically, we're too old to be doing drugs like this. I'm very disappointed in these guys. They're my friends, but I just can't be involved. You know? And the drug use of the band in their heyday in the 70s was pretty intense.
Too much coke, too much smoke.
Yeah, and I think that, of course, that was being a rock star, you know, in those days. It was living the life. But that's from Artimus himself, so that's what I assume happened. He then wound up getting in a little trouble with some underage girl or something. I don't know. Different stories, different, you know. There is a story that there was somebody trying to take advantage of Lynyrd Skynyrd, you know, and I don't doubt that at all.
It's not unusual.
But I also don't doubt that, you know, a young girl might look good to him. I don't know. I know. I mean, so I was in college, we dated high school girls. So.
This wasn't a trailer park, too. So you never know what's going to happen in a trailer park.
Good or bad?
Good or bad.
Yeah, yeah, true.
It was somebody looking to get up, you know, get a hook in somebody with some money. It's always about the money.
Yeah, I'm sure it is about the money. But he had already started the Artimus Pyle Band, and that project continues to this day. I saw them 3 years ago at Lafayette's on the square here in Memphis, and they were great, playing Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. And Artimus is still a great drummer. They were very nice. I got to meet him after the show. He was very generous, very magnanimous. Took the time to meet everybody and shake hands. Just a wonderful guy. Of course, he's the last surviving member, basically, at this point. During the show, he talked about his love for Ronnie Van Zant, his love for the band, his love for the music, and this was him keeping it alive.
And I think it is a tribute to Ronnie Van Zant to play Ronnie's songs the way that they were meant to be played. And that's what he says, that's what he advertises.
Well, he said at the show that they know they're playing it right because Ed King personally taught his guitarists the parts. So that's kind of cool too. It's not exactly Alan and Gary, but it's pretty cool. So Artimus, let's see, what other controversy involves Artimus? I guess there's a thing about the divorce.
And his riff with Judy Van Zant over the movies and his books, and how his story differs, and she didn't like it, didn't want him to be telling this story.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about him knowing about her relationship with Jack Grondin and Ronnie wanting to get a divorce and all that, and of course she denied it, and of course it didn't matter. When Ronnie died, Judy was the wife, and in my opinion, Judy's done a great job of continuing the legacy. I appreciate everything you've done, Judy, for Lynyrd Skynyrd and Ronnie Van Zant. He had the deal where he wanted to write a book. He wrote a low-budget movie, and it's really a low-budget movie, telling the story of the band and the plane crash and whatnot. And it pales in comparison with the Cabin Fever movie. Remember when that came out? You and I were the only people in the theater on a Thursday night in Memphis watching that movie, and tears were coming out of my eyes at the end because they had the footage from the plane.
It was live stuff. It was great, grainy footage, but very good. It was well put together.
Yeah.
Freebird was the name of the movie. Freebird.
Yeah, Freebird the movie, and it started off. We're getting off the subject. So I guess in my mind, Artimus Pyle is a good guy. He continues to spread the word about our favorite band. He called Ronnie Van Zant a great man and his friend. He thought Ronnie Van Zant was his best friend in the band. Nothing but respect. And Artimus, next time you're in Memphis, we'd love you to join us on the show because we love you. We appreciate everything you're doing. I don't know. Anything else?
I think we got it covered. Artimus, being a Marine, and we talk about Ronnie's way of keeping his band together, and maybe it's a little military style. And I think Artimus probably flourished in that style of Ronnie having the hard hand. This is the way it needs to be done.
Well, he looked like a tough guy. I'm not sure that Ronnie would want to go.
No, I just think it was respect, more respect.
Yeah, he clearly respected Ronnie, and again, Ronnie's my favorite guy, my favorite band. So there you go. So let us know what y'all think about Artimus. Any great Artimus stories that you've heard or know or experienced or met him or hung out with him or whatever, please share them with us. We want to continue to learn more about Artimus and the things he contributed to the band and the things he's contributed to our lives and musically. I don't know. It's just fun talking about it. Anything else on Artimus Pyle?
I think Artimus. We love Artimus. He's a good guy, and he's doing the right thing for us.
Yeah. Anybody who's spreading the word to future generations about our favorite band and sharing this beautiful music, you're a winner in my book. So we very much appreciate it. And I guess until next time, right?
Y'all keep sending comments in. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Please subscribe. Share it with your friends. We need more subscribers. And we'll see you next time here on Skynyrd Shorts.
Thank y'all very much.